Is this enough to cause all petrol stations to look like this? Well, let's find out.
Search AutoTrader.
Hello guys, and welcome to another AutoTrader review, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new Volvo EX30. And as you can sort of guess just based on this front fascia, it is an electric car. But is this enough to cause all petrol stations to look like this? Well, let's find out. Okay, first things first, let's start with the styling. Obviously, we've got these very dramatic LED headlamps, very cool when they switch on. But then, like I mentioned earlier on, we've got this brand new fascia, which, because it's an electric, it doesn't need a physical grille. But Volvo has made sure that the grille, or rather the lack thereof, is a similar design to what the old combustion motors were. And then obviously you've got the very famous badge up front, as well as the little stripe across. Up front is one of your cameras, which obviously directs footage through to your infotainment system, but we're going to get to that very soon. Of course, this is the Volvo EX30 in twin motor performance, guys, which means it needs some serious rubber to put the power down. Now, usually as standard, you're going to get a 19-inch wheel design on the car. These are specifically optioned with the 20-inch wheel, and as you can see, very aerodynamic, cutting down that drag that could cause you to, well, lose a little bit of range in the long run. Again, now let's come to the side of the car and let's address some of the, well, the thing that stands out the most of the Volvo EX30. And as you can, well, boldly notice, this very bright moss yellow color from Volvo. It really stands out of the crowd. And just to offset it a bit, Volvo's incorporated this floating roof design, as well as with the B pillars that's all blacked out in sort of a gloss black material. And then a nice little detail to the back here is this is where you're going to find the model designation EX30, nothing else on the back of the car. But let's get to that rear end. Okay, we come to the back of the car, where, as you can see, we've got our Volvo style C-shaped tail lamps. And then as you can see, these guys, this is not actual light bars, they are just black trimming, once again adding to the overall design and the look, but at the same time giving it such a bit of like a horizontal, wider appeal to the viewer. And if you press this little button in the middle, you're going to open up your boot like that. And what you're going to find is 318 liters of luggage space. And if that's not enough, you can fold the seats flat. It is a split configuration, but once all of them are flat, you're going to get 908 liters of luggage space. So what if you need, like, well, extra space? Well, there is technically a frunk or a front trunk, but it's not very big. You might fit in like maybe a laptop bag and, I don't know, a couple of packets of chappies or something, but that's about it. What's the rear legroom like? Well, to be quite honest, if you're as tall as maybe 6 foot or around 1.8, 1.9 meters, well, you're going to have enough headroom. Your shoulder room is going to be okay for 2 adults in the back, maybe 3 kids, but leg room gets a little bit tight when you sort of think, this is my driving position and I can't fit comfortably behind myself. But like I said, for somebody a little bit shorter, maybe 3 kids or so, it's going to be ample. To say that the interior is minimalist is, well, an understatement, because, well, except for a few buttons on the interior, like on your steering wheel here and then your 2 stalks, there's, well, no other real buttons except your window switches right here in the middle. And then you also have your lock as well as your unlock buttons right down here. And then, well, they try and hide everything, because if you press this, up comes your cup holder. You can press it back once and it will keep only one available, and then obviously you can just press it all back. But it's like a whole lot of space here and no buttons, nothing. In fact, even your glove box gets controlled from this 12.3-inch touchscreen infotainment system. By pressing the button, there goes your glove box, which is again in the middle and not traditionally over here in front of the passenger's legs. But all in all, it's great, except, well, everything is here, which means when you're driving, you're constantly looking here. And that's sort of, I would say, my real biggest criticism about this car is if they had like a head-up display on the windscreen to show me my speed, that would be great, because every time I spend a little bit too much time to check my speed and perhaps my range, then the system will beep and say you must pay more attention on the road. But you know, like, where am I supposed to look? So that's, like I said, my only biggest criticism. Other than that, well, yeah, the menus could be a little bit better laid out, but I do know that you can add a few buttons and shortcuts to it. Now, this system is Apple CarPlay compatible, but they don't talk about Android Auto. And that's not because it can't do Android Auto, it's because the system is in fact an Android based system. So you can literally add your email address and link all of your accounts, and as soon as you step in, your phone can sync with Bluetooth, so you have your calling functionality, but everything else is already linked to the vehicle, which means you don't have Android Auto in the traditional sense as you would in other premium segments. It's built right into the infotainment system. And yes, I rushed through that exterior bit again because I really wanted to get inside and tell you about it, what it's like to drive. Firstly, my seating position, damn good. Like, it's so comfortable. Your seat itself with this sort of interesting cloth material, also just lovely. The trim on the inside, textures and the inlays, as well as this metallic handles and metallic trim pieces on the steering wheel, it just shouts premium. So even if it's a smaller Volvo, you just still get that premium feel from it. And obviously, being an electric car, it's so well insulated, so quiet, it just whispers along. And well, that's where the controversial part comes in. I know most South Africans are still a little bit skeptical about sort of this whole EV thing. But let me tell you, after driving a whole week with this car, never have I been inconvenienced. I go to a mall, plug it into a supercharger, go in, grab a coffee, and by the time I'm back at the charger, it's gone up like 40%, especially the charger there at Mall of Africa. So, like, it's not that bad. Like, even at home charging, and obviously if you have a charger at the office, which most office parks are starting to install, I don't think you're really gonna have issues with charging. But more than that, the 64 kilowatt hour battery gives me ample range, like really a lot of range. And it will actually keep me going and have me travel from Joburg to Pretoria and back a few times before I even think about charging. And so I don't see why that might be a problem anymore. In fact, there's other benefits to the EV. It's this twin motor setup provides 315 kilowatts and 543 newton meters of torque. To put that in perspective, this car can sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.6 seconds. For something that is, well, pretty much the size of a T-Cross, that is insane. But it's so much fun. It's just like an on-off switch. You just press and off I go, and then you're back. But it's so interesting because Volvo obviously built this curve in. It's not like an on-off switch. You can feel the surges coming through with the power. It's really lovely and it's so much fun. So what is this big hurdle? Like, why aren't people buying these cars? Well, I would say the biggest hurdle is the price. If it's more affordable, I think more people would actually consider this because it's absolutely lovely to drive. The suspension is dynamic, the supple yet while going over bumps and undulations. It's quiet. You've got premium sound system. The tech here in the middle is incredibly intuitive to work with. It's spacious enough. So why don't people buy it? Well, I would say it's affordability. You see, this car comes in at 1,055,900 Rand. And yes, but considering even though this is the top spec twin motor performance N plus trim that gets all the bells and whistles, that's still a little bit dear for a lot of people, especially for a car this size. But it's not all Volvo's fault. I think it all comes down to, well, legislation. If we tax these cars a little bit less and it comes in at a little bit more affordable price, I think more people would be like me and think, well, Pikachu, I would choose you.
Search AutoTrader.